It's Rahul here for Punch Out Boxing. I'm delighted to be speaking to Darren TNT Tetley. I presume you're not up in the North Pole with Santa, although you look like you could be Santa's little helper, but you're up in Bradford, right?
Yeah, Bradford, mate, with me Christmas jammers. I've got Christmas socks. I got the full machines going on here.
You know, for us Southern softies, Bradford might as well be the North Pole. So, yeah, you're
Yeah,
suitably attired.
yeah, we've
So,
got. I don't know what you guys are like, but we've got snow covered ground up here. Like
yeah, no snow here, but it's cold enough for us
it's
We'll
cold.
See
Yeah.
Southerners. Yeah. Yeah, Darren. So out for the third time this year, just before Christmas. Down here in London. You're coming down to Yorkhall, facing Elliot Whale. So last couple of years been fairly busy. You've been going in with all the sort of hotshot prospects in the game, and consistently taking these hard fights, maybe to your own detriment, but taking on another young, cocky upcomer in Elliot. Before we go into that, just reflect on your last fight against Stevie McKenna. How'd you find him? How'd you find your own performance? What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know if it's necessarily just prospects like I've been in with, obviously champions and stuff like that. But I think boxing's too many fighters want to look after themselves and not want to take fights. And basically, I'm not a journeyman. I'll never go to lose. But boxing, people want to see 50-50 fights, and I feel like that's what I've been in.
Hmm.
Obviously, results haven't gone my way. But I think nearly every fight that I've been in, I've kind of performed. Maybe Ant was probably the only one where I didn't really perform as I should. But even like my last one versus McKenna, it's funny because the commentators never mentioned it. I actually only had a week and a half notice for that fight.
Hmm.
It was kind of a last minute addition, and I was doing bits in the gym, but I wasn't fit. And again, it's just when opportunities come, you've got to take them. You know, in these hard 50-50 fights, all it takes is one win. And the Elliot fight is no different. All it takes is that one win, and I'm right back up there at title level and title fight. So for me, it's not. It was a no brainer. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't. For any of the fights I've had, I've never had to really think about whether I'm going to take it, whether or not. It's just been, well, yeah, in the amateurs, you get told who you're fighting. You don't get asked if you'll fight them.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to now go to that now and just take fights that fans want to see and that fans are going to be interested in, because ultimately, whether you're on a ticket deal or whether you're getting paid, nobody really wants to see you fighting someone that's won and lost 70. They're not really interested in if all the red corner's going to win. And I just want to be in them fights. And again, I've got obviously another one here with another unbeaten fighter.
Yeah. And this time round, with Elliot, how much notice did you get for this fight?
I think what was it about 4 weeks ago. So
Hmm.
about 4 or 5 weeks, or about 5-6 weeks or something like that. But I was kind of ticking over in the gym because I was hoping to be out, try to get out before Christmas, and this is probably the busiest I've been this year. I boxed in June, I boxed in September, and now I'm boxing in December. So it's probably the quickest turnarounds that I've had for fights.
Yeah. And yeah, last couple of years, you've, as you said, yeah, they're not just prospects. What am I saying? I mean, Echo Esserman, at one point, he was mandatory for the IBF title. So pretty high level guys that you've been in with. Obviously,
Yeah,
Sam.
and
So. Hmm.
sorry, and yeah, and I think if you look at my performances in them fights, I've never been. Obviously, I got stopped versus McKenna and I got stopped versus Anthony, but I was never out of my. I was never. It was never one sided.
Hmm.
All my losses, none of them's ever been one sided. Even the Esserman fight. And I know why they took the fight. I know form wise, they think I'm on the dip, and
Hmm.
and so it's a bit of a name that if they beat me, how well they think they beat me, and then they can call out these other people. And but look at the performances. If you, I don't know if you've seen the McKenna fight.
Hmm.
I wobbled McKenna twice. I hurt McKenna in the first round and the fifth round, and won rounds. I won rounds in the fight. So I just think it the solely took the fight. I would imagine on results because I've been beat.
Hmm.
Um, if I'd have beat McKenna, would I have been offered this fight? I don't think I would.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. That they probably are just looking at the results rather than your actual performance. So, I mean, you're 30 years old now. That's usually around the peak for a fighter. Do you think you're going to have to keep taking these really difficult 50-50 fights because you don't have the backing of a big promoter? Like you said, one win against some hotshot, and that puts you right back in the mix.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant that you kind of mentioned that, because it's true. If if I had kind of a promoter backing me, and I got to, I don't know, 10, 11 and 0, and then stepped up bit by bit, and getting an 8 rounder versus a couple of international fighters,
Hmm.
and then step up again, a couple of 10 rounders versus the same caliber of opponents, and then you work your way up to to big fights, or whatever. But I obviously haven't had that. Even when I beat Mason Cartwright, it never took off for me. I remember 6 months after winning the WBO European, I was on a ticket deal in Bradford.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously lockdown came, and I had a couple of losses in lockdown, and it was kind of, what do I do? Do I want to get to blooming 40 wins and 2 losses fighting, you know, no, like people who people know I'm going to win, or do I just want to be in hard fights, and kind of that's where I can improve and learn, and kind of learn on the job, in hard fights, if that's what I need to do. And you look at who my 5 losses have come against. Taylor was 21-1, I think he was. Antwi was 16-1 at the time. Uh, who else was it? Esserman, obviously 16-0.
Hmm.
Domon was 10-0, and McKenna was 13-0 with 12 stoppages. So
Yeah.
I don't shy away from a fight, and again, this was no different. To me, it's just a fight, and one I'm looking forward to.
You mentioned there that you haven't had that backing. What do you think the reason is? 'Cause obviously you're a good fighter. You're willing to take on hard fights. Is it because you're stuck up there in Bradford, which isn't like a particularly glamorous location? Obviously people like Eddie Hearn, he deals mostly in like parts of the country where there's
It,
a big tradition. I don't know. What do you think
yeah,
the reason
big
is?
it's big cities in it, with you know maybe by Leeds, but big cities with a lot of fighters around that area. Bradford doesn't have many.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a show on in Bradford, who's going to be on it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because I'm not really a talker.
Yeah.
I don't really do the. I can't. I've never been, to be fair. So it's not just because I'm 30 years old, but I'm a dad. I got 3 kids. I don't. I'm a bit too old for that stuff, and I've never been into it. I've never been into it. I don't need to. Uh, you know, if someone wants to give me it a bit and give me a bit of crap, then fair enough. I won't back down from it. But it's not my. Maybe interviewers. It's not the best for interviews, maybe because it's not my style to be sitting here. For example, Elliot, to sit here and slag Elliot off. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not who I am. It's not the type of the type of personality I've got. I'm the kind of person that you know if I'm at a press conference and someone got personal with me wife or my kids, then I'm not the type of person to say stuff back. I'd just launch a chair at them or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really into all that talk, and it doesn't mean anything. Even the McKenna, the weighing got a bit high rate and stuff, and I didn't back down. But I wouldn't start stuff like that. It's not really me. And ultimately, I don't think it has an effect on the fight anyway.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you're right there. I think you hit the nail on the head. Promoters they obviously want easy show business rather than
Yeah,
necessarily the best fights. In fact, we often see promoters just making excuses as to why the best fights aren't happening. But
exactly.
it's the dark side of the game we love. Yeah, well, have you seen much of Elliot then? He's based in Kent, which is a bit of a boxing hotbed. Yeah, he's 7-0, 3 KOs, but you're his first 8-rounder, so I don't think he's fought anyone with a winning. Oh, he's fought one guy looking at his record. Yeah, a couple of guys with winning records, but yeah, you're his first significant test. You're gonna derail his rise, and yeah, what do you see of him? What do you make of him
No,
as a fighter?
I think I boxed on the same show as him in lockdown. But I'm not really one that watches loads of them. I've watched clips in the past of certain fighters, and then you get in there with them, and it's totally different. I remember boxing Antwi, and I went in and thought, oh yeah, he's just going to be awkward, but he's not very strong. And then he could punch her, as you've seen from his last fight. So
Yeah.
I don't really pay much attention. They're always better than what they look anyway. Dom Hunt's a prime example. I remember watching clips of Dom Hunt and thinking, I've not got a problem here type thing. And then it turned into an absolute war where my face was absolutely smashed to bits. So I tend to not worry about what they're going to do, and obviously every fight is aimed to improve. So watching his last fight, necessarily, he's obviously going to he's going to be better this time, and styles and all that stuff. So I don't really get into how good. Obviously, I know he's highly thought of. I guess that down where he's from and is group of people or whatever you want to call them. So I know he's obviously highly thought of, and he's 7-0. But I know for a fact they're only taking this fight because of the losses on my record, and I don't really think they've paid much attention to the performances. I think they've just looked and thought, well, he's won one of his last 5 or whatever it is. But like I say, if you go back and maybe look at the performances and stuff like that, yeah, of course there's going to be stuff they can look at and think they can exploit and take confidence from. Of course there is. Any fight would be the same, but have they really looked at the positive stuff? I don't know. Are they just looking at the results because I've been beat? Do you know what I mean? And like I say, I just look at it that I won rounds versus McKenna. I'd say it got stopped at the end of the 6th, and I could say I could have won 2-3 of them rounds. So I'm not saying I did. I don't know the scores, but I was in the fight, is what I'm trying to say. So if I'd have won that fight, would I have got offered this fight? Would they have took this fight? Not a chance. So therefore, they're obviously looking at the results. Is what I think, and I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Yeah. What about yourself in terms of your fights where you've lost? Do you look at them and look at where you went wrong and improve on things? At 30, do you think you can still improve technically your game?
Do you know what it is? I think for me, I don't think it's about me improving. I think it's about me actually doing what I need to do in fights. I'm fan friendly, and my style's fan friendly anyway. But I think the little bits that I can tweak, rather than just swinging for the fences like I have done. I think if I do that correct and just tighten up on a few things, I know the ability's there. I just have to, stick to it and not let my heart rule my head and just want to get involved and have a tear up every time. Kind of do it at the right stages. Do it at the right times and not just. I remember I went back after the first round with the McKenna fight, and I said to my trainer, I said he can't punch. I said the power's not bothering me. and that was probably the worst thing because as soon as I felt like he couldn't punch, I was more than happy to stand in front of him. And then obviously my eyes swelled, and I kind of paid the price for it. But it's just about sticking, using my experience and sticking to what I need to do, fight the fight, and kind of get the win rather than just making it exciting all the time.
Yeah, do you think now you've got a lot more of that experience and in knowing how to manage a fight? Is that something where you think in the past you haven't done?
Yeah, possibly. I think it's more. I just love to fight, so it's kind of using. It's all right, even in this fight, it's like I could think, oh well, Elliot's never done 8 rounds, so I'll give him the first couple and then I'll catch up with him late, But it never works like that because you give him the first couple to get the confidence, and then they kind of control the pace so you can't get to him. It's kind of understanding, using experience, but just using my boxing ability because I know it's there.
Yeah.
In this last 3 hard week of training that we've had, we've really been drilling using my strengths, and not just putting my head down and swinging it out.
Great for us fans, but yeah, not great for your record always. I mean, is this fight going to be at welter or super welter?
It's at 10 stone 9.
Okay, so
I think between 10 stone 9 and 10-10, I think it is.
Are you still targeting the welterweight scene?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously this isn't a title fight, so I think that's why it's not made at 10 stone 7 because it's again, like I say, it's not a title fight, so there's probably no point getting down to title weight.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely I'll obviously target. I'm a welterweight, so I'm not a small welter, so who knows where opportunities come. But I think at the minute it's kind of this fight's at 10 stone 9, so we'll just focus on this fight and then kind of worry about everything else afterwards.
Yeah. Do you follow the scene much here in the UK? I mean, obviously welterweight's always been a tough division. Any particular titles you won? Any particular opponents you'd like?
No, not necessarily. I mean, obviously, I think. Well, I love the English. To be fair, that's the only one. I've said it before. It's the only one my trainer hasn't had as a coach, and he's had every single title, from Central Area to World, apart from that English. So, I'd love to get that. But you know what? To be honest with you, I stopped targeting fights and titles and stuff, a while ago because look, I got to 20-0, won the WBO European, didn't really get anything. I got box Liam Taylor in an eliminator. I got beaten that, but then I got an English title fight off of that. Boxed Antwi, lost to Antwi, came back, won a 6-rounder, and then got the Esserman fight for the British. Lost that, then got a Central Area title fight, lost that, and then got McKenna fights. So I stopped. The thing is and people that are around boxing and probably you'll understand it's a business, and just because you win, it doesn't mean you're going to get a title fight. It doesn't. Look, like I said, the Taylor fight I lost and got an English title fight the fight after. Yeah. So I've stopped kind of thinking that things work. I can't think of the word. Works in an order to a, to an order, but it really doesn't. You'd think it would.
Yeah.
You'd think kind of, if I beat Elliot, then maybe look at even an area title or maybe an English, then win the English and then maybe the British, and you'd think it works like that, but it doesn't work like that. I could beat Elliot and get off the European title fight, or you just never know with boxing, and it's just about, and that's why I'll take these 50-50 fights, because if a title fight ever fell through or anything like that, I'm a phone call away. You know, it's like, oh, Tetley will fight him, and I'll fight him, and I won't just, like I said with for the McKenna fight, I don't go just to make up the numbers. I don't go just to turn up and survive and you know and be happy losing. That's not me. You know, every fight I take, I take with the belief that you know I can win, or that I see things that you know I can kind of I can make my favor, and it's just I've never really stuck to like to make it my favor. I've always kind of played into their hands. So this time, obviously, I'm looking to be different.
Yeah, and yeah, your approach is spot on. As you said, there's always fights falling through at short notice, failed drug tests, injuries. If you're always ready, you could be getting an opportunity at short notice.
And like obviously this isn't at short notice, but you know you're ready. You get offered these fights because people think it's not an easy fight, but you know, oh, we'll look good if we beat him. And title fights are no different. You know they'll just offer, oh, you know, Tetley's in good fights. We'll offer him it, and then you get a title fight. So you know, but this time I'm gonna try, you know, kind of do it the right way, and you know I don't have the backing to be built up or anything like that. So I'll take these 50-50 fights and you know win this one, and I'll be back in another 50-50 fight. No, I don't want journeymen anymore. I don't benefit anything from them. I don't think anyone benefits anything from them. So I'm not interested in them. Any win, lose, draw, any fight, I'm not interested in them.
Yeah, and I think there's a change in view even amongst the fans. I don't think most of us put too much stock in unbeaten records anymore. We've seen, don't know if you saw at the weekend, Jordan Gill, back.
Yeah, exactly.
And could be in line for could be a big fight. Yeah,
exactly. Just one. It was tuck into that fight to lose. You know, similar to what I am in this one. You know, and it's one result can turn the landscape of everything. And you know, it's just, you know, if I was fighting, even if I was fighting at York Hall, but I was fighting someone who won 4 fights and lost 100, would you be interested in interviewing me?
No,
you wouldn't, and so it's like, what is the point? You're not fighting them people. You're not making a name for yourself. I know how boxing works, so you know it's like you could fight a journeyman, and you know it could be, I don't know, they don't want them to stop knocking out or whatever, or you know there's always things, and it's like, you know, what are you getting? You know, turning up to a show where you know for a fact you're going to win. So it's like you win, and you know I had it when I was going to fight Jake James, which fell through last June. I took that. He was another unbeaten fighter. I took him, and the fight fell through a week before. And I'd done all the training, and my little boy were going to come. My little boy was coming for the first time, and well, it come when he was like 3 or something, you know what I'm saying? And I just said to my manager, oh, just get me a fight. It doesn't matter. And it was a journeyman, and it was like that. I loved my little boy being there, and that was, you know, he walked to the ring with me, and that was brilliant, and that kind of made up. But the fight itself, I just wasn't. I got out of it, and I didn't feel any joy or any, you know. And that was after I was coming off a loss to Esserman. No, was I coming off a loss? Oh no, I'd been out for 10 months. I boxed Domont in the September. I was out injured, and then I came back in June and boxed. You know, this guy, and I kind of got out of the ring, and I felt, I didn't. It wasn't a confidence booster, or it wasn't. It was just like, oh, it's, you know, it's done now. It's go home, and that's it. It's done. You know, and it's kind of a big letdown, and I'm just not interested in. Like I said, I'd already done all the training for a big fight, so it was different. But I don't want to train like that and fight people that I know I'm going to win, because what's the point training hard? You don't really need to.
Yeah.
You know, at least fights like this are fights that you know you have to train hard. Whether you want to or you don't want to, you know you have to. You know you have to be mentally switched on, and you know, because you've got something to lose. you know, a journeyman, you know, you've got everything to lose, I guess, but you know you're not gonna if that makes sense.
From what I've heard when I've spoke to journeymen, yeah, it's very rare you'll lose because I know a lot of them know that if they try too hard, they won't get a call for the following week. So
No, exactly, and again, that's everything I've said there. Not a dig at journeyman whatsoever. You know, I think when you first start out, you should fight them, but and maybe I boxed some journeymen for too long. But you know, I think if you look at my record, even before I got beat, there was about 7 or 8 with winning records on you know on my record before I ever got beat. You know, I boxed a couple with winning records. Um, but you know, if you're fighting and a fight falls through on a week's notice, then yeah, maybe fight a journeyman or whatever. But other than that, what's you know what's the point really? There's no point.
yeah, absolutely. All right, well, just days away then. Like you said, one win and you could be right back in the mix. When will you be down? You come down? Is it on Thursday for the weigh-in?
Yeah, we're driving down Thursday morning. Me and my mates driving down Thursday morning. You know, I like to kind of do my weight at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like to be, you know, do that stuff at home, and we'll drive down Thursday morning, weigh in, and then head to the hotel and have a walk around Stratford and see what London's saying again.
Yeah, I guess you could get some Christmas shopping in. Um,
Yeah,
all right. Well, Darren, been a pleasure speaking to you for the first time.
thanks for
Yeah,
having me, mate.
one of the great pros of the game in one of the toughest divisions. So yeah, good luck for Saturday night.
Thank you, mate.
And hopefully I'll speak to you after the fight.
Yeah, I'll speak to you after, regardless of anything, mate. I'll look forward to meeting you.
Fab. We'll see you Saturday night. Thanks for your time.
See you later, buddy. Look after yourself.